because we do cover a lot of material, you know, especially now, who knows how far it's supposed to really cover. But I can see it as a review tool a lot. And plus, you know, we have a couple of weeks of, you know, just time that we've finished our lesson, and we just have time to review. And I can see that taking up a solid day and them actually learning something again, or remembering it even more. I can see it being useful.
So either to introduce a unit or to summarize a unit. You can use it that way. Yes, sir?
I think it would be a good tool in the point that he made in regards to being a reference, because when you go and you look at it, and I don't know how, I'm pretty sure most of you all teaching an SATP course history, the way the state test is made up, there's no specific order. It's just you're giving, and it takes questions just out of every era. For me, I think what I would do with the little note within itself, I would find the objective that matches this information. And I would put on the back the objective so the students can be aware of what this is dealing with. This is maybe dealing with a civil rights issue. It's dealing with the effort toward World War II. So I would put that objective on the back so the student can look at that and they can know that. And like I say, it could be a good tool in regards to a review. It can also be a good tool for introduction. But I think when you do it within the frame of presenting that particular unit, I think you keep it in that unit within itself. I mean, you don't go outside. If you're teaching specifically on World War II, then you let every little slip that you do deal with those individuals. You can do it as simply as your key terms. You can use your key terms and introduce a term because most of it deals with key people. So you can do that as a means of allowing the student to make that connect. And then once again, you know, you have the issue of time. So I think doing it as a bell ringer would be good to a certain degree just to introduce it. And then when you get ready and do a close or you're doing a wrap up of that particular section, you can come do that. I think a lot of teachers do have short days, like we have every Wednesday a short day. So we'll take one character and we'll put them in a group, and those characters, you know, you have multiple Randolphs and different things, but they take a different perspective from different groups and they'll explain. So
that's another idea, going deep on one particular person. Fran, and then we need to wrap this part out before we move to the next piece. Yes, ma'am.
I think what I do is I do the quote. You're going to use a lot of quotes in the test. And so if you could quote a Jane Addams on the test that goes with that period we're talking about, and the multiple choice format they're going to have on the same test, and they learn how to break that down, but also give an idea of the quote and set. And then in class, when I might be covering this, I have another quote of anybody, and what I ask them is I put it on the wall, projected. Here's the quote. They read the quote, and they come up with a question they think would be a good question that would summarize or ask them about that quote.
That's a good idea. So that allows me actually to shift gears now, because almost all of you have in your hand a primary source. I told you how we put these together. We looked for people's actual words, either from their memoirs, from speeches they gave, from things that they wrote. So the words that you have in front of you, in some cases are complete quotes, or they're an amalgamation of people's actual words. So you have a primary source in front of you, right? And so people sometimes struggle around the issue of, well, how do I use primary sources with kids? Only thing we changed was the pronoun sometimes, or the verb tense. You know, we say I am, blah, 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 as opposed to I was, or, you know, whatever. But we try to be very, very true to the individual person and the words they actually used, so they actually wrote. And this then becomes a way for you to penetrate students' resistance to using primary sources. Instead of reading a whole long memoir, you're taking a particularly juicy quote that links to some of your objectives, right? And then they can get into it and get into character and really start to say, okay, I think I'm starting to understand who this person is now, because I'm embodying that person, using that person's own words. Yes, ma'am?
Where did you get these particular resources?
All over the Please.
Okay, 'cause, you know,
I
like,
did-
I've
and-
never
and we-
heard of Emma Tina Yucca.
Emma
I've
Tina
never,
Yucca.
you know, that's not someone I've heard of. And I have done research into like I've done different research into different things that happened, like in California
Right.
with the hop strikes and the, you know, and different labor union strikes. I've done a lot of research into that before, but I'd never heard of her.
Mhm.
So where would I find a
We're,
resource
we're,
like
we're
this?
happy to share with you all the different sources of where we got this information. We just didn't want to burden you today with it all. But we're happy to send you all kinds of websites, all kinds of books. For some of the quotes, one of the first things I did was once I decided who the person was, I put in Joe Blow quotes. And then, you know, some of Joe Blow's quotes popped up. Okay, well, which of Joe Blow's quotes do I want to use to help make this particular point? And then that's going to be more true for the famous people than for the people who were in Columbia, Mississippi, or Clinton, Mississippi, or whatever, who might not show up in a Google search.
I use mainly, because I was focused on Mississippi people, so I use mainly Mississippi History Now. And when I would go to that site, I would find people, like the one about Bilbo and different people. And what I would do is just take that, what was written about them, and switch it over into the they had said it. And all of those residents, that was a group of papers that had all been written to Congressman Coleman in Washington. That was their actual words that they had written in the letter where they were asking for help. So the one from Lumberton, McGee, and a couple of others, that's exactly where all those came from. Because I was trying to focus on more of what was happening in Mississippi and how it connected with the rest of the world. And what I found was, I was absolutely amazed, kind of like what Larry said, that you had these extremes going on. Because you had some people that were, they really weren't suffering that much. And their careers were advancing. And in many cases, there were women in Mississippi that were leaving here and going to work for the Roosevelt administration, and they were keeping a keen eye out on what was happening in Mississippi. They brought a lot of programs and premier programs to Mississippi that the rest of the country didn't even get. And then you had other people who were suffering greatly. I mean, we already know those, but those people were really, really having a hard time.
Well, like the General Slotsburg.
Right.
I spoke to a lot of people a while ago, you know, whenever I did this earlier. And, you know, like, I would never know where to go to get his material.
That came straight from Mississippi Now. And there's another story over here that is really interesting. Did you know that there was a socialist camp right outside of Cleveland, Mississippi, where they had brought equal numbers of black and white farmers together, sharecroppers, and they were trying to make it work. And the camp, those German prisoner camps, that was not just in Clinton. That was only the officers there. They were actually all over Mississippi. And those people were happy to be here because when they were in Europe in the camp, it was awful conditions. Larry described the fact that when he'd been in Europe, he would have been in a barbed wire cage. And so when they came here, this was high living. There's a lot of reports that some of those presidents, some of those generals were actually in Jackson going to the movies. They had cars taking them back and forth. Now, I want to give you a perspective from this. This was not hard to put together. I learned so much. And I know, as you described the fact that students may not get into it, but if I had an older group of people, an older group of students, I would switch this on its head and let them look at the research and them make another one. It was just a very powerful learning. I mean, I was emailing Mike saying, oh, I learned this, I'm so excited about this, and I think you also were doing the same thing. You had your phones out, you were Googling, you know, what else can you find about these people? I think now, after listening to Dr. Kennedy, I would put Elise Mitchell in the group because what we learned there, that was kind of a common thing. If I could find something, put her as.
And I mean, you can build on this, right? You can start with a core group of people, and then as you and the students learn more, say, oh, we need a card about so-and-so and so. We need to, you know, and so you're building actually a library of biographies and primary sources that you can use all kinds of ways. You can mix and match. So it can be the span of the Great Depression, World War II as we did here, or you can focus on one particular year, or you can focus on one particular organization and the members of that organization. So there's so many different ways that you can put this together. And we, as Minadine said, we were just so excited and so charged about it. One more thing before we now shift to you sharing your lesson plans with one another. For us, this was an obvious way of generating some enduring understandings and some essential questions, right? So, enduring understandings about that we learned yesterday and today about the nature of the Great Depression and the nature of the war. You know, who was most responsible for, or who won the war, or did this particular act make a difference? Things that historians are still debating. Okay, those are the kinds of essential questions that are important for students to engage. Even more so than the date that something happened. I mean, you want to know the date because you want to know what came first, what came second, and you know, in terms of causality, if there were causality, right? But beyond that, the date is not nearly as important as the meaning of this sequence of events, or these relationships among people, or the nature of the organizations that either helped or hindered forward progress, right? So those are the kinds of things that shape enduring understandings and essential questions. And as we said at the outset, this is one lesson that's part of a larger UBD unit.